Hello, here is your astrology chart. And what I'm going to do tonight is just go over a couple of things covering what I talked about in the message so it makes sense to you. And I pulled up, well, so first let me explain this. So here in the center is you on Earth, well, from the Earth's perspective. And this is a flash point of the moment you were born. So at that moment, this is where all the planetary things that I use to cover in astrology. Of course, there's a lot more. This is just the ones that I use. But this is where everybody was. So if you place this over your head, you can imagine that this is a map of the sky, the moment you were born. So here's you on Earth, and this map is from the Earth's perspective. And here on the outside is April 1st, 2017. So I just wanted to get an idea of what was going on for you astrologically. And as you can see, there were really just a ton of things going on. So Mars was going over your south node, giving you an initiation into your masculine energy, touching the part of you that relates to your memory, your history, your karmic patterning, your genes, and your DNA. And then the Mars transit sort of activates all of that. And it's almost like getting an upgrade on your masculine energy, bravado, courage, assertiveness, aggressiveness, all those things that Mars represents, touching your south node. So that's kind of like your karmic patterning. And also Mars had just transited your rising sign. So I could say that there was a Mars initiation going on in April. You also had Pluto going over your midheaven. So Pluto is about empowerment, and the midheaven is your contribution to the world. So we could go really deep into each one of these things, but I'm just sort of glossing over them just to give you some idea of what was going on. The other thing was that Mercury was transiting your natal Chiron, Chiron being the part of you that is known as the inner alchemist. If you look up Chiron on the internet, unless you're reading from me, people call Chiron the wounded healer. And the reason I don't use that term so much is because I feel like the things that we consider to be wounds are actually pointing us toward our greatest strengths, and that there's an alchemy that occurs. So I'll stop there with that. But you had Mercury going over that, sort of initiating your connection with your own sacred wounds or your greatest strengths and powers. And Mercury is the planet of communication, cognition, perception, seeing, hearing, all of that kind of stuff. Also, let's see, I mentioned Pluto. Jupiter was transiting over your natal Pluto also. So Jupiter expands, evolves, makes bigger whatever it touches, and your natal Pluto is where you have your greatest. Pluto's known as an underworld planet. And this is like in your body, this would be like the Dantian. It's the place of power. And it's a scary place because there is so much power in there. And a lot of people are afraid to go into that underbelly, that, from martial arts. And there's that, one of my teachers had made this comment about a samurai coming to cut off your testicles, and that you would sort of pull that in, and that's that banda, or that lock, the pelvic lock, that place of power where wow, there's just the energy that runs through our body. So in Tantra, it's originating, there is no real origin place of that energy, but within our physical body, that lock, we can really assert and like make contact with our inner power. So Pluto is like that. And what happens in a Pluto cycle is sort of like taking away everything that stands between you and your own inner power. So on your natal chart, what you have actually Pluto opposing Jupiter natally, which says that on a regular basis you have that underbelly, that inner Plutonian energy being all the time expanded. And that's probably something that I was picking up from your profile and from chatting with you. There's this deep sense of both sides of power, which is like feeling powerless and feeling super powerful. So people with strong Pluto on their chart, which I also have strong Pluto, so I feel like I've magnetized people who are working with that energy also. And it's a back and forth between victim and predator and powerless and powerful. So you have that going on astrologically all the time because it's part of your natal chart. So I'm going to go over just a couple of things that I mentioned in chatting so I don't leave you like on a cliffhanger. First thing I want to say is that you have a Pisces moon. We don't know what time you were born, so we can't get into like the specialty of it. So I'll just leave that alone. Getting the exact time or knowing a roundabout time gives us so much more information, but I'm going to give what I have here. So Pisces moon, men especially, I adore because you guys have really a tough job in our current culture because Pisces is an empath. It's sensitive. Pisces feels deeply the pain and the suffering of all beings. This is where that bodhisattva comes in. The one who the one who is in one way or another going to stay in their physical body long enough to ease the pain and suffering of others. So they'll end up doing things that are so Pisces moon, all these things just came in all at once. So the first thing I was going to say is that they will find jobs and things to do that are going to be beneficial for the universe. It's completely selfless, but in that selflessness, there is a sense of feeling more comfortable because you feel the pain. You want to heal everybody so that it's not so that you feel better, but that's where the impulse comes from, because it's like, oh my God, I can't take this. And so you want to go do things and help and heal. And that's in, the way that the Pisces moon person will feel better. Also being born an empath, a psychic, and intuitive, being super tuned into the glue that holds everything in the universe together, those little webs of connectors between all things. It's sort of like being on a psychedelic trip, which I haven't been on yet. I hope to some point, but what I hear that it's like is like really seeing and visually and knowing beyond a shadow of a doubt all those connectors that we have going out to each other and to everything, and being able to through those feel what everybody's feeling. So somebody with a Pisces moon would also likely be very uncomfortable in their physical body. So something that they often will do is use drugs or some sort of addictive behavior to get out of that feeling state. So, gosh. It just dawned on me that I have some of that going on right now. I'm like, why am I doing this? But it is like you really just gotta lay down and just feel it and let it, let the emotions move and do what they gotta do, and then take inspired action instead of just trying to numb it and drown it out. So that's Pisces moon. The reason I was saying that it's a tough job is because in this current culture, we more appreciate little boys who are Aries, Capricorn, as the moon position, the moon being your skill set that you were naturally endowed with just by virtue of being born. And in this culture, we like boys who are the warriors, the fighters, the the bosses, the elders, they come in being bossy and knowing what to do and being good at it, and Pisces isn't that. Pisces moon is, his power is in his empathy. His power is in his unconditional willingness to be open and love and care for people. So, unless you were raised in a family where the dad was like, it's cool to be sensitive, and like, how can we work with this? But I feel like that's a rare case. Most dads, 1976, and I don't know where maybe where you were raised and maybe your dad was different, but in my time, I was born in 1979, it was very normal for dads to be like, toughen up. And I mean, I still hear dads on the playground talking to their kids like that now. So with the Pisces moon, that might have been something that was continually, like trying to toughen up, but you feel just so much. And so that's that. Then Pisces moon, we don't know the rising sign. The rising sign is what you're here to learn about, your learning edge, your growth edge. We can only find that out by the birth time. There's no other way to know the rising sign except for the birth time or a roundabout time. If you knew morning, noon, or night, we can kind of narrow it down, but otherwise there's no way of knowing. Then your inner feminine, inner masculine. Okay, so this is what I wanted to cover quickly because I talked about it in the message last night and I don't want to leave it on this like cliffhanger. So your Mars is the way that the sword you carry, the way that you embody your masculine energy, your bravado, your strength. Strength isn't the right word. It's more your oomph, your get up and go. Mars looks like this, and that's what it's like, a circle with that little arrow, like okay, so I was just thinking sometimes people will call it like an erect penis because it has that little like testicle kind of look and then the arrow going forward. But I don't really like that analogy because Venus doesn't really look like a womb or a yoni, so I don't really use that. But some people say it because it gives a better idea about what is Mars. What is that masculine essence that is projecting outward. So somewhere you might have seen on that page that I made for my book, I talk about the men's regenerative organs going down, and so it's like a projection downward, and that's like a movement down, and then the females it goes up. Her reproductive organs, regenerative organs go up. So the masculine energy, according to astrology, looking at Mars, is for a man, it is the way that he carries his own sword, his masculine power. And Gemini is playful, it's a trickster, it knows everything. And the other thing I wanted to mention is that your Mars is connected with this grand air trine, which takes some of this Gemini and makes it really way more intellectual. I mentioned playful when I talked to you or I was texting to you, but whenever I look at this whole trine, Mars is connected to your Aquarius sun, which is highly intelligent, radiant, bright. This is brilliance, connection to cosmic consciousness. And Mars is also connected to Pluto, which gives you this deep, powerful, ancient wisdom that can't be separated from your sun or from your Mars. So putting all of that together, it gives your form of the masculine like this highly intelligent, intuitive from the air realm. You have the intuition coming from your Pisces moon, but now there's this intuition that's like the person who knows for no reason, like my type. I have a grand water trine. Like I said, I think I might have mentioned to you, out of the first 100 astrology readings, I found 5 trines. So they're rare. Not everybody has a trine. So it's saying that you have a special gift of this certain element of air. So for water, my way is through the feelings, through emotions, through touching people. Like I get the intuition in a watery way. for you, it's like there's no reason why it just comes. It's just like the air, like through the ether, through the space in this between the cells in your body. There's just a deep knowing. So your Mars, your masculine essence, has that as its greatest power. Again, this is not typically what we would consider to be masculine, you know? So what I'm saying there, not saying that you're not masculine, I'm saying that the way that we hold what is masculine is incorrect, because you are very masculine. You look like a man, you know, and it's just the way that you are a man is not the way we in this time have given a definition of what a man is. So that's your inner masculine. And then when we look at the inner feminine, it shows us the goddess, the way that you embody your feminine energy, but also what you're attracted to in women. So what usually will happen is, like, you see her and she's representing what's in here. So you're like, oh, you, and then you want to bring that closer to you, because it's kind of like magnet, you know, to pull out your inner masculine. She comes in, you bring her in, she gets close, and then it starts to come out, but then you're sort of projecting to her, not owning your inner feminine. And then with Capricorn as the form of the goddess, she can be like the shit, like holding her thing together, got her own stuff, independent, strong, building something. Like when you talk to her, she's like, oh yeah, I'm you know, starting a television corporation, or, you know, it's not like little stuff. Capricorn form of the goddess is like building big things. She's a boss, you know, and you're like, wow, that's amazing. And then you know, she comes in and suddenly she's your boss, and she's your mother, and or your grandmother or whatever. And the things that she's offering you are really good, because Capricorn knows their shit, and they know how to set structure. They know how to set the form. They often have very good advice, but in love relationships, it kind of sucks to have your lover become your mother. So the way to heal this, or to make whole, healing equals wholeness in my view, the way to heal this is, there's all these, in my book, there's probably like 3 chapters or 3 workbook segments that have to do with this work, because this is super vital and important for owning your inner other. But the first thing I think I mentioned to you is just write out the list of all the qualities that you like, what you're attracted to. Write it all out. Okay, she's like this, and blah, blah, blah. And then start to do those things that you see, that you're perceiving her to do. So say that you met somebody, you're like, wow, she's so whatever that is. So for me, I'm like, he is so, my inner masculine is Pisces and Scorpio. There's always 2, but for you, we don't know, because we don't know the time of your birth, but we do alchemy between the 2 things and get this form. So for me, it's the, you know, he's like very empathic and sensitive, and like infinitely badass, because Scorpio is like just like your Pluto energy. So putting those 2 together, that's what I'm attracted to. Super attracted to it. I can't help it. I see it and I'm like, ugh. And then it happens every time. But then now I'm able to be like, okay, what I'm perceiving in him is me. So say when I see you, I'm looking at your page, I'm like, oh my God, he's like amazing and perfect. Then I'm like, breathe it back in, like, okay, yeah, that's me. Those are, you know, those things. I love that he's into this. I love that he does that. And he's so, everything that I mention about you in my mind, those are me. Those are my things. And not saying that you're not those things too, but those are that's my inner masculine. And I'm projecting that out all the time onto men. And then the thing that makes it different is, after doing this work for so long, that I don't act on it, and I don't act desperate and be ridiculous and be like, I need to have that person, because I know it's not that person. It's that the person is showing me, mirroring to me my inner masculine. So I actually I'm really good at this by myself. I actually have no idea what to do once I actually get into a relationship, because I broke up. Maybe my son is 5, and we broke up when my son was 9 months old, and we've had this sort of weird thing, but I've been single the whole time. And the reason I got so deep into studying about relationships is because I could not even fathom in my mind what the hell just happened. So the book is really good in the sense that you'll really learn a lot. I mean, I feel like it's really high level mastery of intimacy with your own self and your own reality. And then putting it in practice, like with another person, as in a relationship. I have an idea of what that might look like, but I have not done it yet. But I can really guarantee you that if you go through some of those steps that I mentioned, where you look at the person that you're attracted to, and as you're describing her, look at those traits, and then see. It's hard at first. I feel like it could be difficult at first. You're like, no, that's not me. No, that's not me. It's because that projection of the inner other, we don't own it. And that's why we keep being attracted to it. But I can almost 100% guarantee you that the things you're attracted to are you. It is that feminine piece of you that needs to be integrated into your reality. So, there you go. I hope I didn't blab on too much, and I hope it made sense. And if you have any questions, please feel free to ask. If you could get the time of your birth, that would be amazing. But either way, thank you so much for letting me read your chart, and I look forward to connecting with you soon.